Great. So, good evening once again to everyone, and I'm happy to have you all join us this evening. Last week we started a discussion, a very interesting discussion. For those of you who were in present, we were able to record it, and the recording is available on YouTube, so you can always check it out on my channel and listen to the discussion that we had. But one of the things that came out from last week's discussion was the fact that we need to build projects, and that is the best way to solidify the knowledge that we gain from learning programming or in this our software engineering path that we have taken. So we questioned that how do you come by with this programming, project ideas? I feel that that is one important question that a lot of beginners have. So today we are going to stretch our discussion by delving deep into it as well to look at how you would be able to come up with ideas, project ideas to build, and which of the project ideas will be considered relevant and all that. So it's an open discussion. Everyone here is going to contribute towards it by sharing with us their experiences, their challenges. So, as and when you are called upon, please do well to share with us your experience so that we are all here as a community to learn from each other so that we grow together. I hope the ground rules are good with all of us. If yes, then we'll begin. So I think here, do we have a chat? Yes, we have a chat. Oh, is the other one that we have a chat? Okay. So I don't think there is a chat feature in here. But then once you are on as a speaker, you can always unmute and ask the question. Yeah, you can always unmute and ask a question if you have any, and your contributions as well if you want to add on to something someone said or you want to come up with a suggestion otherwise from what the person said, that's also acceptable. So let's get started with our discussion. As a beginner, how do I come up with programming project ideas to work on, and how do I ensure that I even am able to do that which I come up with? Because the if it is left with projects, anybody at all can think about projects, but then with my current skill set, how do I come out with projects that will permit me, my skill set will permit me to be able to work on? So I'll start by, as usual, asking us to share our experiences so far, then we'll move it from there with a discussion. So the first question that I want to ask everyone here, irrespective of your background, I want to know, outside maybe a school, for those of us in ALS, like outside ALS, outside school curriculum, outside like a structured entity where you obtain formal education in programming or software engineering, have you been able to build a project on your own? Like, and if yes, tell us about the first project that you built. Like, what was the motivation for it, and how did you go about it? I hope the question isn't too long. In summary, all I'm saying is that share with us your experience with regards to building projects. With the knowledge that you have acquired so far, have you been able to do anything, irrespective of how small or big it is? Have you been able to do something that you can say that this was a small project or a big project that I did to solidify my knowledge, as and it's not what I was given in school? I feel that school gives us a lot of things depending on which school you are in. If you are in ALS too, almost every day you have projects that you are working on. So aside those ones or outside of those ones, have you done any projects? Share with us your experience. Which project, what was your motivation, and how did you go about it? Yeah, so let's get started. On my left here, I have Abioladi. Hi, Abioladi.
Good evening, sir. Good
Good,
evening, everyone.
good evening. You're welcome.
Although I've not done any project on my own yet, I just
Okay,
started with AL
okay,
online. So it's
okay,
just that I'm just even with the one I've been doing, I'm just struggling to adapt with it. But I'm just doing my best to play along and
okay,
get along with my first time going into programming.
okay.
First time getting so I hope maybe someday. That's why I'm here, just to learn from you guys as well.
Okay. All right. That's perfectly fine. And just as you said, in fact, that's one more reason why we have the community so that you get insight from what others are doing. So hopefully by the time we are done with today's session, you should get some inspiration from what others are doing and how they went about it, how you can also go about it. Okay,
Okay.
so next person Next person on my list is J Keys. Keys. J Keys. Hi J Keys.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. So care to share with us any project you've worked on and the experience how it was like?
Um, so far so good. Although I've not really done any project yet,
Okay.
but as this guy, the last person that I spoke was saying,
Mm,
um, like I saw the last section you guys did on this channel.
okay.
I watched it out. Like I was like, ah, I wish I was there because like some of us we are totally new
Mm,
and we've been struggling and trying to find our our feet.
mm.
Trying to we are like we have been on that tutorial hell that tutorial hell
Oh,
stuff you
okay.
guys were talking about.
Okay.
So I've been watching too many tutorials, but no no time to actually use those concepts or sometimes I don't even know how to apply them. I don't know how so it's been really difficult though
Yeah.
to be frank, it's been difficult. I was even talking to Adewale today. I was
Okay.
telling him, so he was like he hasn't heard from me for a while. So I was like,
Mm,
yeah, so because I had to like the Airbnb clone, I had to go back to the first project we started
mm,
on.
mm.
So I started with that, and all that. So it's been really difficult. Most of us we are just trying to like find that balance.
Okay.
Find that balance between trying to the effectiveness of learning and using what you're learning
Mm,
instead of just learning all throughout just like you're giving it all the time, all day long you're trying to read but nothing is it can be very frustrating.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so far I've not done any projects still. I'm still, yeah, we are still trying to find our way
Okay.
around. Yeah.
All right. That's also well noted. And as I said earlier, that's why there is a need for a community like this. Usually, when you're on your own and you feel like you're struggling and you don't know that is probably the same way others are feeling, and also you don't know the way out, you easily give up. So it's best to find yourself in a place like this where a lot of other people share sentiments with you and they also share their experiences with you. You also share your experience, help to motivate one another and move each other in the right direction. So yeah, I believe that we are all in the right place today, and hopefully by the end of the session we'll learn a thing or two about how to go about it, combine taking our own personal projects with the ones that school is giving us, or being able to make sense out of what school is giving us to help us build something of our own. Yeah, so let's go to the next person. Hi Peter.
Hi, Doc. I do thank you for this opportunity. Like, I'm so happy to be here now. I've been. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah,
Hello?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
Go
I'm
ahead.
so happy.
Mm,
Like when I started ALS newly, those
mm,
things were like misery to me.
mm,
But the moment I came across your video, it was very helpful. I am using this opportunity to just thank you for everything you are doing, and I
mm,
don't know the perfect word to use, but God bless you and continue to bless you
mm.
with knowledge. I really
Um,
appreciate all you are doing.
you're
Like
welcome.
I really appreciate because it was not funny. Well, for the project aspect,
Mm,
I actually started something today.
okay.
I just started something today, but the thing is, I just decided to write out what I want to do
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote a flow chart for it.
Okay.
So I was actually planning maybe tomorrow because tomorrow is Saturday. Hopefully, I will be free. I
Okay.
can just continue with that, and at the same time, I decided to learn some basic.
Mm,
Like I actually am in cohort 9. I actually went
okay.
back to the beginning of C
Okay.
all over again because
Mm,
from your video it was so clear to me that the basic are actually the fundamentals. If you miss the basic, it becomes a misery. So
mm.
that concept has really helped me.
Okay.
And that's all for now. I just say I continue and I keep learning from people and just like that. Thank you very much.
Welcome. But before I let you, I mean, off, I just want to know if you care to share what exactly is the project that you decided to work on, irrespective of how small it is, but then what exactly it is and what's your motivation for wanting to do that is, if you want, you care to share that with us.
This is actually the idea behind it. I
Mm,
teach in a school.
okay.
I'm a secondary computer. I teach
Mm,
physics.
okay.
So I discovered recently that it will be ideal if the school can
Mm,
have an application that can
mm-hmm,
just they impute their score and
mm-hmm.
stuff like that. They will just grade the students
Okay.
without other calculations. The application will just do it
Okay.
and save it. So the
Okay.
student can actually access it directly from there. So
Mm,
that's actually what motivated me to do it because this is the exam period. So
okay.
majority of they just finished their exam today.
Mm,
So that's why. That's what motivated me to start it.
all right. That's good
So
to know, and thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah. So on that note, those of you in the audience, I've sent you or invitations. You can join the stage so that you also get to share your experience with us. I know that some of you are struggling with network, but then it's fine. We'll go through successfully. Yeah, so next person here, Haruna. Hi, Haruna.
Good evening, Doc, and
Good
good evening to everyone.
good evening.
Okay, so concerning the projects that we've done outside ALS or outside our own practice,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's really been hard for me to do real project or project that are just concrete ones. But sometimes I'll just, if I learn any concept, I'll come and just try it on my local machine without watching tutorial or without looking at what they are asking. Do I just do it off head and push it to my GitHub? So that for example, if I learn if system for instance,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just come and do a practical work on that system and see if that really runs or not. So that like the if system, I like this one project like maybe I'll, the project was just if I just on was about the call. So I would I wrote the project and it was like the call you ask the this and the want to use the program to, let's say someone is calling you, so any command that he puts there, so you say this is what the person puts, this is what should then, and
Mm.
to start. So I already did that project and it was kind of successful, and I pushed it to my leader.
Okay.
And one time I built another one, let's see, age calculator. We did that one together in the one of the period.
Mm.
So that one I sat down and also wrote my own this thing, age calculator, and I was
Mm.
I'll let my junior brothers and come to, let's say they just come and enter their
Yeah, okay.
date of birth and stuff. It will display to them, hello, so and so, this is your age, and next year you'll be this age. And
Okay.
they were really happy to see yourselves.
That's
So
nice.
that's what I share for now.
No, okay. And I feel that that is good, especially even I mean even if it's coming from, probably we'll discuss that soon, like whether it's coming from a YouTube video or a session you attended somewhere. All that we care about is you being able to put things into practice and like knowing why you are doing what. Okay, essentially that is all that it's about. Like, why are you doing this particular thing that you are doing? If you understand it and you can redo it when you need it, then it means at least you've picked the skill up, and that's what is essential. Yeah, so next person, Amanu. Hi, Amanu. Hi. If you are speaking, then we can't hear you. I can't see the microphone symbol on your icon. So it's possible you are not connected with. Okay, now I can see your. No, it came and it went off. So kindly check. Amanu, if you are speaking, I can't hear you. Okay. So check your microphone, then let's see. The next person is Baron. Hi, Baron.
Hello, good evening.
Good
Yeah.
evening.
Um, Good evening. I will just go follow suit and address you as doctor. Good evening, doctor.
Good
I
evening.
am actually first time in this particular platform.
Yeah, well,
Thank and I don't know. I thank God for for how I got to even know this. Like almost some people have said, or one of the persons have said before now, I am totally new. I mean, new to to all forms of technologies and develop and programmings like
okay.
this. So if I would want to share my experience, I don't know. I really need hands. I
Mm,
really need hands. First of all, I'm so grateful. Like I so much thank God that I've been able. I was first of all able to scale through the probation period and
mm,
then still try over my ways till the end of C. And
mm,
even as C had ended, I'm very sure I know I am not okay with C. So I really would need a whole lot of hands. You see, as a
mm,
matter of fact, I'm planning on a travel. Planning to travel maybe anytime soon
okay.
to possibly yeah, like I'm looking at the situations where I actually have I have a friend. I have some set of people that I know that are good in programming. I want to
Mm,
even travel and stay close to them,
okay.
and then to also help me in my own part of it.
Mm,
Uh, I'm also grateful to Alex and this entire hard thing stuff.
mm,
I know very sure that it will one day stand and like make us, me in particular, stand out, and at the end of it, I'll so know everything about it. But going through it has been tough. It has been so challenging. Uh, in fact, as a matter of fact, till the end of C, like I said, I don't know how I got past C.
mm,
I don't know how I got past the probation period in the first place. but by God's grace, here am I. And I got to understand that it seems, I don't know if it's because of the basic knowledge or just the uh, idea in C. It's it seems Python is even it's going to be a bit easier than C. It's
Mm.
just an opinion, a personal opinion anyway.
Okay.
But I think, but but then I do some of my projects. I mean, the projects in ALX, I submit them. I totally do not understand the concepts.
Mm.
I do not completely understand the entire concept, so that I would, practically put them into the way I would want them to be. So, like you asking of uh, projects and personal projects that have been done, without the understanding of any of those things, I cannot run any project. I have not, as a matter of fact, I found it okay. This is one of the challenges I have. I think I'm a bit okay about on how Python is going to work now. When I installed um, the program on my system and all of that, I could use it. I can now use it and understand that I can use it locally on my system. But even trying to, I had very difficult time running background on my system, so I could not bring C locally.
Mm.
And so there are a lot of things I could not do, like a lot of things. So I will only be doing projects and then submitting. I can't go back to those things, to make them stick and to
Okay.
even get to practicalize and understand the concept. So it has
Mm.
been really tough. I don't
Mm.
know what got me here to where I mean to this platform right now, but
Mm.
I'm hoping it should be a very good path that I trod.
Right.
Uh, Hoping that it will you guys will you guys will take me through in most of these things.
I mean,
I really
we'll,
appreciate this
we'll
class.
all help ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So that's one point that I always want to reiterate. I mean, the essence of the community is not for one person to come and hold another person's hand to push the person, but then it's a collective effort. We are all here to help ourselves. Today, you have done something that you understand, but then where you are now, what you know now, somebody who is also part of the community doesn't know that. You've been able to say go through C programming, you've started with Python, you're getting some understanding. There are others who haven't gotten any such. So we feel that if you are in the community and you are ready to help those people behind you doesn't necessarily mean someone. I mean, for those of us in ALS, it doesn't necessarily mean someone in a lesser cohort. Like it could be someone in your cohort or someone in a cohort ahead of yours. But then just sharing your thoughts when queries come up, people ask questions, they want to find clarification to things, and you are able to offer such when you are in the known. By doing so, we expect that the others too will be doing so. So at the end of the day, we collectively are helping each other and we are building ourselves together. So that is the goal of the community. And hopefully, with the challenges that you mentioned, you're definitely going to uh, find solutions to them as we keep discussing these things. So let's take on the next person. Hi
Uh,
Beto. Hi Beto. Are you there?
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
It's nice having this being in this meeting. Honestly, I'm in cohort 7,
Mm,
and it has not been easy. Honestly, yeah. But the good thing is just being in a community goes a long way to
mm,
help. I
yeah,
mean, no matter how challenging it is, you see someone that knows a little part of it.
Mm.
And you see another person. By the time people contribute. That's just the only reason why I'm still here.
Mm.
If not that, I should have dropped out of this program because honestly, it's a very challenging program. And if you think you can do it alone, maybe if you already have experience in programming, you can do it alone. But if you're a newbie like us that just kept to tech, you just need a community.
Mm.
You may not be able to do it alone. I have a whole lot of things I don't know, a whole lot. But the only reason why I'm still doing this ALS is because of one peer group or the other,
Mm.
and then people being willing to help. And it has not been easy for me, sure. Then on the part of personal projects,
Mm-hmm.
I've not been able, just like I said, I'm in cohort 7, and
Mm.
they've already informed us that we need a portfolio project.
Mm.
Honestly, I've not been able to come up with any idea about that. I've been thinking about it, but I've not been able to bring up something tangible. So I'm hoping that maybe by the end of this session, I'll be able to get one or two POs that will still help me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good to hear. I mean, last week's session that we had, I remember when Adewale was ending I think it was the last part when he was landing. He said something that he quoted that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, you go with others. I mean, and that's very true, especially in this software engineering thing. You mentioned that if you have programming experience, you can do it alone, but the truth is that to really succeed in this, I mean, not just ALS, but the whole software engineering thing, there's nothing like doing it alone. Because at the end of the day, even if you end up being a solo founder, you still have to talk to people. I mean, you still have to communicate with people. You build your platform, you are not the one who is going to use the platform. I mean, if you are the only one using it, then it becomes a different story. But you certainly be looking for users to use, you discuss it with others. So at the end of the day, the role of a software engineer is not like a solo role. So whatever it is, you need like others. You need to be able to communicate with others. You need to be able to collaborate with others to work on things. So that's the essence. And as you've mentioned, the importance of peer learning and having being in peer groups and the likes, I feel that that's very essential, and every one of us have to take note of that. And at least I keep hammering the fact that that's the essence of the community, and that's why we've always longed to put something like this together where we can all get support and help ourselves. Yes, so that's good. Thank you for sharing with us. Hi, Kobe. Hi, Kobe. Kobe, are you there? If you're there, let's have a little chat. Hi, Kobe. Okay, next person is Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Aaron. Okay. So guys, try and communicate. Like you don't need. I mean, I know some of us here aren't from ALS, so don't feel pressure to come and share. But then, whatever your background is, we are definitely in a community. This is not like an ALS community. It's a community for everyone who is interested in getting into tech, especially software engineering, as we have now. So irrespective of your background or wherever you are joining us from, you are allowed to share your experience with us. And at the end of the day, we want everyone to benefit. So don't feel pressure that hey, when you come, you hear a lot of people talk about ALS and you are not part, so you feel out of like the community. No, you're still a valuable member of the community, irrespective of your background. And we care about your experiences and we care to learn from your experiences as well. Okay, so next person, Amanu. I don't know. Have you faced your mic? If yes, you can unmute and talk. Otherwise, let's listen to Adeole. Hi, Adeole.
Yeah, doc. So
Great.
yeah. So it depends on what you consider as a project,
Mm.
right? So yeah, that's the question. So what is a project?
I mean, anything outside. That's why I kept saying that, irrespective of how small it is. So,
Okay, if you are going to count like small, simple, relatively simple
even
projects, you
if
think,
you
yeah,
wrote something that prints your name, you've done something. I mean,
no, okay. If you're going to count, then I've probably written hundreds of projects outside like ELX, right? So
okay.
I often just think of simple ideas and try to
Mm,
implement them
mm,
in different languages. So I usually
mm.
do the same projects in C,
Okay.
Python, JavaScript,
Wow.
and sometimes I try if it's relatively simple, I try
Mm,
in Ruby and
mm,
maybe Rust as well, right? So
mm,
yeah, I write a lot of simple programs. Like I was talking to somebody on Court 11 yesterday.
mm,
So because they're in Court 11 and they started in 11 and in November, they
mm.
assume that the on Slack the court details as 1122
Okay.
translates to the quad number. And I'll send them, no, it's just a coincidence. I'm
Mm,
explaining the pattern to them. And just as an illustration, I wrote a simple C Python program to it's just like simple branching, right? You
mm,
say if the first two letters of the number part is this, then is this, right? So yeah, I do that all the time. Just like simple programs to illustrate a particular, just like one simple idea.
mm.
Like use branching conditional statements to create branches and say
Okay.
I match this to this. So
Mm.
yeah, so I do that a lot. So if you count that as projects, then I do
Oh
a lot.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
That's excellent. I mean, I feel that I have to clarify that, and thank you for mentioning it. When we say doing projects, like the essence is doing something that knocks the knowledge deep into you. Okay, so it's not like, hey, I sat down to brainstorm this big idea and I built something out of it. No, I mean the little things that you do outside what you've been given. Okay, so especially if, let's say, school gave you an assignment, and I make reference to ALS because you realize that with ALS you have prompts for almost everything you are doing. So that's why I excluded those ones. But aside the ones that you've been given prompts that do this, do that, do that. If you decided that, hey, let me write a program in C today that prints out my name in this format, or print my name in the reverse order, hey, that's a project. Like, irrespective of how small it is something that you are going to use to test your knowledge. Okay, so that's basically what we are referring to. If you've done something like that, and I'm more interested in the inspiration behind it, or your motivation behind going ahead to do a given thing that you have done. Like, I like the example that Haruna gave earlier, where he did an age calculator. Like, he said, hey, I saw during one of our sessions we did something like that, so I decided to do it on my own. I showed it to my siblings. They had to put their date of birth in there. At the end of the day, like, you've built something. It is not huge, but then it helps you practice the knowledge that you have acquired. Okay, so that's what we are referring to. And one thing that Adeole has mentioned that I want to iterate so that we all get it, is the issue of trying to build, I mean, is it an issue? The point of building the same project in different programming languages. So the let me share the story. I started writing a series on how to build the simple shell. I mean, we for those of us in ALS, you know that that is like one of the common projects that we do out there. And one cohort, I think that should be is it cohort 9? Yes, I think cohort 9 started pressuring me earlier, I think November, for me to host a live POD to discuss that, but it hasn't been easy and I couldn't really make time for it. So I decided to start writing on it. In fact, I have a session that we did with Code 7, but copyright issues, so I can't share that video, and therefore I decided to do that series. And I wrote, I think, was it part two or part three of it, or just the part one of them. But what I did was, after writing them, I shared it to Hacker News. I don't know how many of us are aware of Hacker News, but Hacker News is like a very simple platform where various tech related content are posted. I mean, discussions, sort of. And that was my first time sharing content to Hacker News. So I just shared it. I came, no, nothing. Like, I didn't expect anything. I didn't know anything that was going to happen from there. But then I realized that all of a sudden, like, I have huge surge of traffic to that blog post. Like, I think in less than 24 hours, I had gotten close to 3K views on the blog. You know, that was interesting. So I wanted to go find out where it was coming from, and I went to Hacker News only for me to see that people have started discussing things. In fact, the things about Shell that they were discussing, I have no idea. Like, I was just in the comment, and yeah, usually when something like this happens, it's like I feel obliged to respond to every comment that was coming. But here, like, people have taken over the comment section and they were discussing details, like passing a lot of things in C programming, in Bash, and things that I have no idea about. So I was just in the comments and I was absorbing some of the knowledge that they were sharing. People were sharing resources, they were sharing books. But more importantly, one thing that one person said, which is related to what Adeoli said, which I want to make it clear to all of us, is that what he I don't maybe I shouldn't use he because I don't remember the gender, but pardon me to use he to represent, or he or she anyway. So he or she, what he or she, using these pronouns is not easy. What he or she does is that for any new programming language that he or she is going to learn, Charlie, please pardon me to use he so that I don't struggle. So any programming language that he is going to learn, he just has this project that he has built in the language that he is familiar with. So his is the basic shell project. And if, let's say, I move from C and I'm going to learn a new language, the next thing I want to do is to try and build that same project in that new language. Like, and that's what he has been doing all around. So I took that and I was like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. Because then if I've mastered, say, a programming language like Python, and I've been able to build an application with it, like, I mean, a project, I please remember that I keep saying, irrespective of how small the project is, you've built something in Python, you understand how it works, you understand how you were able to build it, and it makes your knowledge in the concrete. So when you move to a new language, you are just trying to implement the same concept. So it's like, hey, I'm trying to link my knowledge in Python to this particular new language that I'm learning. And that's the best way to learn. Once you're able to transport knowledge that you know from somewhere to another place, it becomes easy. to grab the new knowledge. So I like the fact that Adewale mentioned that very even simple project, he has done it in multiple languages. So for those of us who currently do not really have anything that we've worked on, this is what I'm going to suggest to all of us. At least that's the first thing I'm suggesting, that hey, go back the language that you are most conversant in, try something small. If it is an age calculator that you want to build it. If you are going to use conditional statement to print out something, like somebody said, let's say a grading system, like that, you build your grading system. I mean, one example that those of you who have been joining most of the PLDs will attest to, that I usually do, is the BMI calculator. I think I did it using C when we're doing C programming, and I did it using Python as well when we're doing Python, doing some of the PLD sessions. Okay, so now you've built a BMI calculator in C, so you know how it works, you know how to do that. And when you come to Python, you want to apply the same logic in Python to build it. In fact, even within Python, you can say, hey, when we were learning, let's say the procedural parts, I built this project. Let me now try and use functional programming to convert this. I mean, get it into functional programming. When you go to object-oriented programming, you want to transport that same knowledge and use it to build it. That becomes very solid. Okay, so let's try that. And if you move on to the next language, say JavaScript, go and build the same project there. So far as you are building similar things, you are just transporting your knowledge from here to here. And the question is, oh, I know I did this here in Python, so how do I do, if I want to do something like this in say JavaScript, how do I do it? Then you just go ahead and search for how to do that as well. Yeah, so Adewale, thank you for sharing that with us, and I hope that at least this sinks in and everyone gets something out of it and will be able to implement something of that sort as well. Okay, so next person here. Hi, Tony. Tony, are you around?
Hello, Doc. Good
Hi,
evening.
good evening, Tony.
Hi, guys. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I think my story is just like everyone else here. And okay, let me just start from the inception. When I started out learning programming language, I started with JavaScript. Started with actually HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Okay.
You know, and I attended a boot camp. After the boot camp, you know, we were given a project, like a capstone project. You know, we learned some stuff in JavaScript, some concepts in JavaScript, and then we learn of API and how to consume API and the rest of them. So we were giving an interpreter, you know, like a language interpreter to build. Using JavaScript. That's when you send in an input like English, you know, you can interpret into French and other language like Italian and the rest of it.
Okay.
So I actually struggled, you know, with that program, trying to build that program. I tried, you know, building because JavaScript wasn't making sense to me. Then even now, so I'm still struggling with JavaScript now. So after, well, why I actually did it, you know, took it serious was because, you know, it was like a criteria before you get your certificate. Okay. And I took it serious, you know, and I couldn't do it. But after that, as I now thought to myself, if it is possible, you know, I can, like, I'm from Nigeria, you know, and we have 3 major ethnic groups in Nigeria. We have the Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. And I'm not among those 3 ethnic groups. I didn't even know what to call myself, whether an Igbo or something. So I said, okay, why not build something, you know, in my local dialect, you know, that people can just, like, now if you go to app stores, you know, you see some programs, you see some applications that you know that interprets Yoruba and Hausa languages.
Okay.
But my local language, we don't have anything of sort. So I tried doing that, and I hit a roadblock. I have to go deeper. I have to create an API. My own local
Okay.
language, which was not possible, even till now, it's not possible. So that's the only project I've tried. But aside from that, I've done other things. Just like you said, I'm outside LX. I've done several tried watch videos and then try doing implementing on myself. Try understanding what is happening. Yeah, behind. Yeah, I've tried calculator. I've done calculator and I understand very well how to do it. And if someone comes and tell me, okay, I'm trying to build a calculator with a C programming language or a Python, I can put up something.
Okay.
So yeah, my story is just try and error, try. But yeah, the important thing is that and even when you're failing, you're making progress. So I know I've made a lot of progress because I actually started this year to go into programming. This year I said to myself, okay, I'm going to go into this full time. I even the job I was doing that was taking my time, I dropped it. And focused on programming, and I've gone far. So aside that, I've not done any other thing. But yeah, that's just my story. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. I mean, taking
Yeah.
on
Thank you.
challenges like that is very helpful. In fact, it's like I don't know if it's the best example to use to describe it, but then the fastest way to learn. Let's say you read about swimming, then you drop yourself into the middle of the pond to practice. You know that if you don't do your best to get out, you are going to die. So at the end of the day, you go always to get out of the water, to swim back to shore or something. I mean, that's not the best way to learn swimming, but sometimes with when you get your legs wet with the basis, it's always good to throw yourself into challenges, not like the biggest challenge that you can't solve, but challenges that you can overcome, or I mean projects that you can work around or do some search. You don't need, like, you don't necessarily need to have it all figured out, because if you have it all figured out, why then do you even want to try it in the first place? Yeah, so thanks for sharing that with us. Last
Thank you, Doctor.
person. Hi, Barokin. Hi, Barokin. Are you there? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. I also can see your microphone icon. Okay, so I can now see your microphone icon. It comes and goes off. So if you're having issues with your microphone, check that, but I can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, now I can see your microphone icon, but you're muted. All right. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. Maybe I should go ahead and share mine before we go to the next part. So I practically I like to try a lot of things out. Like, I mean, I feel that the time that I can say that I really know something is when I've been able to use it on my own. So even when ALS gives us tasks that we need to do, after the tasks, I start asking myself some questions that with this particular thing that we just learned, what can I do with it? Then, like, as I keep making reference to not anything big, like any small thing, but something that isn't exactly what they've given me. Okay, so a practical example that I can give is when given this particular project. Well, what's that project? The first Airbnb clone project with file storage and things. What came into mind was, I mean, even before I started the project, after reading about the requirement and I saw what we're going to be doing in that project, I told myself, okay, let me try and find the projects that I'll work on, like something small that I'll try to work on after this particular task that I'm coming to do. And I know that in this task, we are going to be learning about how we store. We're going to learn about how we store, uh, what is it? How we store things in files. I mean, using Python to store things in files. So, what projects can I do with that? And I decided that okay, I'm going to build something like a phone book application where I can create contact of people and store it in a JSON file, because that's project that we're going to do, the Airbnb clone. We are going to store data in a JSON file. So if I'm able to do that, let me see if I can just build a simple application that will allow me to create contact and uh, save it in the JSON file. So that was the initial thought. I mean, for those of you who are in cohort 7 or any other cohort but has seen the PLD that I held on the first Airbnb clone, you would see that it was made up of multiple parts. So I wanted to put all those parts together where you are using, let's say, the console, and you are using OOP concepts in Python, and you are using file storage to store, I mean, to these three concepts to build a phone book application. Like, it's not like an application as you are thinking about, but I mean something simple that if I want to create a new content, I say, hey, like I just use the console and I type in something there and it creates the contact. And if I'm looking for this particular person's contact, I type something into the console and it brings up the contact. So that is one idea that I got, and eventually I did it. I did it, even though I ended up not using the console because I felt that nobody really would like to use the console for a project. So I ended up using, I think, one model in Python that allows us to create a front end, a graphic user interface application. So that is just basically one of them. And the BMI that I talk about too, I think I've been doing it almost all the time. It's quite simple. I mean, just accept input of the user, ask them for their weight, ask them for their height, and do a calculation. Okay, so something like that. Hey, I've done this and I use it to do a project. In fact, I went ahead to even convert it into a graphic user interface application. And recently too, I think one project that I tackled was trying to build a YouTube downloader. And essentially what I was just trying to do there was, okay, how do you use an external model that you are not aware of? That's basically what it was. Like, we've learned about models. I mean, those of you who have done Python will appreciate it. If you haven't done it yet, don't worry, when you get there you understand. So we've learned about using models. In fact, we've imported a lot of models. So I just wanted to try out something, assuming that somebody gave you a new model that you have no idea about, going through the documentations and using it to build something. So it was just a simple thing. Hey, let me go look for the information about this model and use it to do something. And I think that day that I was doing it, I was live in this channel, I mean on Discord, and Adeole even joined me and helped me along the line. And eventually I was able to build something that is functional, at least, that you can use to download YouTube videos. So the reason why I'm sharing this, like, you may think that, hey, these are big. Like, they are not big projects. These are not things that you can really go and showcase somewhere. But then there are things that makes your knowledge solid enough. Like by doing it, I feel comfortable that okay, now I've been able to use a model that I didn't know anything about to build a project. So I feel that anywhere I go, if you give me any model that I don't know anything about and you give me the documentation, I will be able to maneuver my way around it and build something with it. So that is the experience I'm looking at. Just this week, I mean, as for Cohort 7 members, you will appreciate what I'm about to say. The week has been very stressful with all the projects that we had to do. And but then one thing I realized was that even though I was doing the project, that's reference to what ALS gave us, I was doing a project, but then I really wasn't grasping the concepts because it was like it was thrown all over the place. When you are building your own project, it won't be thrown all over the place like that. So let's say all that we were doing in summary, for those of you who are not in cohort 7, for summary is we are learning to connect our Python applications to databases. But then the way the task has been structured, you do some here, then you jump to a different file, go and do some in a different file, then you jump to another file, go and do. So because I'm following the instructions, oh, I just do as they say, do as they say, even though I was still struggling, but then I do make mistakes, try to figure it out. But eventually I still felt that I really didn't have that practical knowledge that I needed. So I told myself that I threw a challenge to myself. What I wanted to do is, okay, I've built a phone book application before that uses the file storage. Now I need to convert that phone book application to use the database storage. So that is the current project that I'm working on. You may think that it is something big, but it is not. If you know anything about Python, hey, I just create a class and that class will accept input from the user. I mean, depending on how you implement it, and it will pass it into an object. Then we store that object in a file. That's what I did for the initial one. But now I want to see how can I do this so that the data is going into a database. But then we used MySQL in Python for ALS stuff. And when I was reading around, I was like, oh, okay, it looks like SQLite is like simpler, not simpler in terms of syntax because we are using the ORM we are using is like for every one of them, but it's simpler in that if I want to bundle the application and share it with others, they don't need to go and install other things to be able to use this. It's basically a file, but it's a database. So I decided that okay, let me take that route, use SQLite. I was struggling with it. In fact, I'm still struggling with it. Today I haven't touched it. I started yesterday and I made waves. I was able to like on the console I can display it, I see what I want, but then it's not yet populating in a database. Okay, so I'm yet to figure that out. But then I feel that by doing that, that is when, if I'm eventually able to do it and I repeat most of the things that I do, now that I've done this thing, I can try another project that I'll be able to use it in the database. And by doing that, I'll now feel confident enough that, hey, anytime they ask me to build a Python application that connects to a database, there's something I've done before, so I can do it. Okay, so on that note, what I'm going to suggest to us, especially those in ALS, is that the moment you are given like a task, a project to do, the next thing you should start thinking about is, with this knowledge, what else can I do with it? Okay, so what else can I do with this knowledge that I've gotten from this project? Or is it even possible for me to replicate something like this that we did in a project without following the prompts? Let's say in that project you were to build anything, like any of the basic things that, hey, write a script that does this, something like that. Like let's go back to the bash script that we're writing. So write a script that prints out, say, best school. You follow the prompt and you went ahead to do it. Now ask yourself, can I write a script that prints out my name? Or can I write a script that takes input of, say, my date of birth and tries to calculate my age? So at the end of the day, you've learned something here, but then you are not following it exactly. You are trying to build something out of what you have learned. Okay, so that is like one of the ways that you can always come up with ideas to do the work. Don't wait till like you have like a very wide idea. You want to build a cryptocurrency platform that accepts NFT and it accepts mobile money, and I mean, all those things, wide ideas, they are there, but then you have to start with the small things. Get confident that you can do the small things, then you can always move on to the big ones. All right. So with that said, I want two people to share their thoughts on the next thing that we discuss. What do you think about following project-based tutorials, like watching a YouTube video that is project-based, and or reading a book, a tutorial book that is project-based, or a blog post or a documentation where they are building a project and trying to redo what they did? What do you think about it? Is it an effective way to practice your skills? Two people to share their thoughts with us. Anyone?
Hello, girl.
Hi.
Yeah. So from my own perspective, I think it's an
Okay.
effective way of learning. But I feel before you go ahead and then follow, a project-based tutorial,
Mm-hmm.
you must have first, you know, go through maybe read a book, or just watch a tutorial that just explains the concept. As in, you must first have as a grasp of the basics of what you want to build.
Okay.
Because if you go on some without having the foundation, you're just you're just following blindly.
Mm.
You know, people will do if you follow project-based tutorial and you see people implement a particular maybe functionality in a project, and when you don't understand that stuff, you don't understand what the person is trying to implement.
Mm.
When you leave that tutorial, the whole thing leaves you.
Mm.
Even when you type along, yeah, this is from my own experience.
Okay.
So I remember, Hassan, when we were just rushing through, they said we finished JavaScript, and boom, I went started doing a project-based tutorial, following tutorial, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know a single thing. I had to leave this tutorial and then go back, find a book or some. There's a book called the LS share with us in Headfirst JavaScript. I tried to read the Headfirst, although I didn't complete the book. I tried to read the latest edition, not the old edition, because I have older editions.
Okay.
Try to read the book. Write down everything. Make sure I understand what it does before going. So I feel, you must first of all have a basic knowledge before going on to follow a project-based tutorial. Because if you don't have the basic foundation and then you go on to follow project-based tutorial, you just you get lost and then you lose everything.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, next person, one more person to share their thoughts on that.
Okay, so
Right.
I agree with what he said, and I've mentioned this before, but a lot of content, especially on YouTube, for video-based courses or tutorials, they skip a lot of steps in the process. Either for brevity purposes, you can't if you actually make content, you understand that the process of actually doing those things takes time. You
Yeah.
have to cut some parts out without, even if just for being practical, otherwise your video will run very long, right? And
Exactly.
also because they assume that you have some understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I have to take I was talking to, let me just keep that anyway. If I'm taking, for example, any new, for example, someone created Quad 11 in the tutorial of how to write a C program, I'm not going to explain how to open the text editor that I need
Yeah.
to use,
Yeah.
using Vim or Emacs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to explain some things, right? I assume that you already understand these things and you can follow me step by step.
Yeah.
So the problem is that what I'm saying is that those videos, a lot of time they assume that you have some knowledge, and for that reason you can then follow them and then be able to replicate it on your own, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have, that's what I was referring to. If you don't understand some things, you are just doing monkey see, monkey do. And when monkey sees an error he has not seen before, right? Yeah, it's true. So, for example, it happens a lot. Like you've seen something on a tutorial, you're trying to do it. Somehow, some way, you get an error and you're stuck because we started letting run it, they get an error. Maybe the dependency problem, or maybe a slight mistake. Because you don't understand the process well enough to now debug or say, okay, if I see this error, it means this, and you can fix that, you are lost. Because the knowledge that they presume that you have, you don't really understand it. Right?
Yeah.
You see videos on YouTube, create a simple React project for beginners, and you don't understand JavaScript. You jump to React. Maybe you're using some version of Node.js, or maybe the person is using server-side JavaScript, and you want to use your JavaScript in the browser. Some things will not work. For example, I had to create a game, a normal game that they gave us the logic, and I was implemented it in Replit, right? And I ran it and it worked. But a week later, I saw Node on my system, and I said, okay, this is my program. That's something I often do, write this program. Later, I might want to extend it or change some things. And I did some tweaks. I tried to run it, it didn't run. I said, did I break something? And I ran the debugger in VS Code. It said prompt defined. Wow. I had to look it up. The program ran perfectly fine in Replit, right? But the prompt function that was used to take inputs from the user does not exist in Node.js.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So all these things, it doesn't exist in Node. It exists in client-side JavaScript and server-side JavaScript. You have to create a function to take inputs if you're using Node.js, right? There are many different ways of doing it. But in client-side JavaScript, there is a prompt. You have the functions that are prompt, alert, and I can't remember the third one. Prompt, alert, I can't remember the third one. So, but that small thing, it tripped me up for a while. I was like, what's happening? So that's how it is. There are small things that they presume that you understand, that if you're just following the tutorial, if you're just learning those concepts by watching that tutorial, you are doing yourself a service. That's why the business is super important. And it seems like a cliche, and it probably is, but cliches are often true as well. The truth is that you need a solid grasp of the basics. From there, you can now extrapolate and do things on your own, right? If you do something often enough and you understand it, when you see an error, you're like, I probably messed something up. Let me try this. I say, okay, that fixes that. And the next time you see something, it's not even an error. You say, okay, what will happen if I do this? And you try it. I say, interesting. It does this. That means that you cannot start extrapolating. That if this does this and this does this, maybe I tried to work. Say, it works. So that's why the basics are so important. And you have to also understand the target audience for those videos, right? I've seen videos on C. This particular guy, Jacob Toba, just watching his videos will tell you that these videos are created for people that have advanced knowledge of C, right? So I actually found the guy when we were doing printf, right? I said that. So he doesn't use the printf function from the standard library. He has his own printf function that is arguably better than the printf function in standard library, right? Imagine that level of expertise. Now imagine me at that time not trying to, because I was trying to do printf in ALX and I said I watched that video. I'm not helping myself now. There are many
Exactly.
things that I was referring to that didn't make sense to me. They still don't make sense to me now. And it really didn't make sense to me then. I see somebody that has an XNO, a tic-tac-toe game, right? In C, and it makes just one call to printf. If you understand what that
Wow.
means, it makes just one call to printf.
Wow.
But it's good to be running the loop, and very you'll print the board, right? So that's, and you have to understand that these videos, they have a target audience, and you select one that matches your understanding and skill level, and then use that. Don't just say, okay, I want to do printf now. I just go to YouTube and say, creating your own printf, and you open it and say, this doesn't make sense. It is not for someone of your skill level. It is for advanced users, right? So that's also important. Finding the appropriate content, right? And it also works the other way as well. Sometimes you see some videos and you're just skipping because a lot of things that they are explaining, you already understand them.
Exactly.
So you're just skipping. And maybe in a 12-minute video, you only watch about 2 minutes, 1 minute. So it's also important to find content that's targeted at people of your skill level. So yeah. So tutorials are good, but you have to be careful picking which one. Yeah.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, Haruna, go ahead.
Okay, just to add to what they've said, like beginning, I thought, or I used to believe that watching tutorials are the best way for me to learn program. And these days, that, like those tutorials that I've watched for a long time now, if I want to do something pertaining to those things, I can't remember. I have to go and watch them again. So I started like reading documentations, but once I read any documentation about any this thing, mostly it don't go easily like as compared to watching the tutorials. So what I'm trying to say is that for this thing, reading the documentation, I think that one is the best way to learn the stuff, the programming stuff. Once you read it, you get everything. But once you are watching, you are just watching them do it. Maybe people so gonna read about it. That's why they have been able to make video concerning it. So if you also go and read, I think that one would really help than watching the videos.
Okay. All right. So that's a point well noted. But then mostly it depends. I mean, I think the last session or last, but last two sessions that we had, I mentioned that each and every one and where they learn best. So as an individual, you should always find what works best for you. Because I know people who also struggle to learn from documentations. In fact, one challenge with it depends on the documentation, but one challenge with documentation is that they are usually technically written. Like as they say, documentations are written by developers for developers. So sometimes when you are yet to really get into it, you struggle to make sense out of the documentations. But if it works for you, that is excellent. And if the videos work for you, that's also excellent. I'm going to comment on the submissions, but then yeah. So with regards to what are they really said about YouTube videos, I mean, I've been trying to create YouTube videos for a while now, so I appreciate what he was saying. One thing I've realized is that when your videos are excessively long, people tend not to watch it. Like we live in a world where everyone wants fast response, fast answers, fast everything. So if I'm going to get a project based tutorial, let's assume that will teach me a concept, say in Python, and I find two videos where one of them is 8 minutes and one of them is 25 minutes. I'm likely to go with the 8 minutes. I mean, that's what I have seen, especially based on the analytics behind my YouTube videos. Okay, so on YouTube, you're able to tell where people are dropping off your video, and you realize that the moment you start debugging things during your video, people feel that this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Why is he even wasting my time? So what YouTubers now do is they cut off all those parts. Like if I was doing something and I made a mistake, I cut it off and just join the video so that you don't get to see the mistakes that I made. And I feel that that's not a good way. As Adeole has already explained, it's not a good way to learn, because you need to be exposed to the mistakes that they make. You need to be exposed to the challenges that they face. And you also need to, most times, even experience it for yourself and learn how to fix them to get better with it. So that is one thing. In fact, I've personally been struggling of recent times creating videos. I mean, when we ran the poll in the Telegram group, people suggested that I produce short videos explaining some of the concepts. But then that is one challenge that I have been facing. In fact, I've recorded a number of videos for Python tutorial for absolute beginners, but I realized that I'm even finding it difficult to publish it. The videos are actually on my YouTube channel, but I've not made them public yet. And the reason why I feel that way is because there are a lot of things that like I don't get to touch on, and I wish I would be able to. So personally, I think that that's why I resonate more to the live learning, live discussions like this, where you are in the flow. You give every information that you are supposed to give. The people see the mistakes you make. We all debug together. We see. Okay, so nowadays I resonate more to that. And personally also, now what I've done is when I'm looking for an information on, say, YouTube, I usually look at this particular content that I want to learn and how long I expect it to be able to decide which video to watch. So let's say, I think was it yesterday in the evening, I opened my intranet and I realized that there was a concept about Docker that we were supposed to learn. So I went to YouTube to search on Docker for absolute beginners, and I'm seeing some 2 minutes video. I'm like, this person is just coming to waste my time, because definitely it is a concept that I don't know about, and 2 minutes is not going to sink it deep within me. I mean, the way I would want it. So I definitely need something longer than that, and that's what I ended up watching. I think I watched a video. I got a video that was like 1 hour 48 minutes long, and I already watched 40 something minutes, and I'm yet to watch the rest. But at least like it was extensive, starting from like the history behind Docker and why it even came in the first place. And even though we are yet to get to the part where they are using Docker, that I can say, oh, okay, this is how to use it. Now, like, I feel that I know a lot about it, even though I'm yet to practically use it. But then, having gotten that knowledge, I feel that I know a lot about it. So, I will just add on to what has been said already, that when you are making a choice of the video to watch, consider some of these things. Okay, it's not just about, hey, you have little time to watch, so you want to go with the shorter ones. But if the shorter ones, depending on what you are looking for, sometimes it's something specific you are looking for, so you are looking for a short video. But if it is a concept that you really need to understand, and it's something that you don't already know about and you need an extensive knowledge, consider that with respect to the time of the video that you are going to go in. Yeah, and I like what Tony also said initially, that you need to really understand the concept before jumping onto the tutorial. I mean, project-based tutorials. Okay, but then the question that I'm going to throw to us is, how does one get to know that, hey, I have gotten enough of the concept, so now I am good enough to jump onto starting building projects? Because that is one thing that I think, or I feel, based on questions that people ask me, that some people suffer from, where, well, I've been learning these things, but I don't even know if I know the thing. Like what shows that you know? I mean, if I start learning a new concept, what will prompt me? I think today or yesterday I saw somebody ask a similar question in one software engineering group on Facebook. The how do I know that I understand? I think he was asking specifically about closures in JavaScript. That they said the understanding the concept is good, and he has spent like 2 weeks learning closures in JavaScript. But how does he know that he really understands it? So let me throw that same question here and let's discuss it. How does a beginner or any of us get to know that this thing that I'm learning, now I know it, and therefore I can go ahead and do something with what I know? Is anyone to share thoughts on that? Yes, anyone? Oh, are you there? Anyone to share their thoughts? You don't have to be an expert. Okay.
Hello, hello,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Okay, Adewale can go first. You can go.
No, please go. Please go ahead.
Okay, from my own, I used to take this example. I used to use myself as a reference to these things because
Mm,
you don't have to go read um, maybe a dictionary or read the whole documentation,
mm,
a whole docs, that you can actually do something. So just like we said earlier, if you're able to come up with this small, you're able to build small things, as in bits of things, not going to build a whole web page with all the functionalities that you can think of. So you're able to do these small things, that really makes sense. You're able to write a code, even if to write a small code that can just add, a number to a particular number and then prints out. Yeah, you know.
mm.
So that's to me. I don't have
Okay.
to. As I know, oh, I can do a small thing. You know that that means I can try. I can try to go further than that. I can try other things. That are a bit difficult than that. Yeah, I don't
Mm,
have to start writing everything. Yeah. So that's just me.
mm. Okay.
I know I can do small. I know I can take this, this small and join to this other one, and then it magnifies. So that's just what I think on that. That's my take on that.
Okay. All right. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that with us. I don't really want to
Um,
go down.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, but
Okay. Um, for me, I think I share with that idea.
mm,
The last person just said.
mm,
Um, and I'm also of this. Mostly, like I said before, I'm quite new to the system,
mm,
into technology system and all of that. But when I'm seeing anything, for instance, if I have a project that prompted me to do this and that, one of the basic things that always flow in me, like I think about is how do this apply? How
mm.
is this supposed to apply in a real world scenario?
Okay.
And if it is in a real, if it's actually something that should come up in a real world scenario, how would I possibly do it?
What's that?
At the point I have not been able to answer that question to myself that this is how you would do it without referring to any other documentation or
Mm-hmm.
any source. I do not think I understand that thing.
Mm,
But the moment I've been able to know, I mean, do it confidentially without, or maybe with no, let me say, with no or little reference to
mm,
any documents or other materials,
mm,
then I feel at that point I know, because I feel there should be, I should be at a, point that if I say I know this thing, I understand this a particular concept, it should be that maybe I see a wrong. I see it maybe I just glance through a code, so a series of codes, and then there are errors. I should be able to figure out that error. Sometimes there are some errors that should be figured out even without testing the code. I mean, I should see that okay, there's no curly bracket here, or there should be a bracket here, or maybe what's
Okay.
making the code not working is that there's no semicolon here or something, even without testing the code, just because I see it. Because I'm also of these, I share in this. I believe so much in the saying that for you to be able to add, for you to know the fake, you have to know the original very well. For you to be able to identify which one is fake, which one is
Yes.
not good,
Mm.
you have to know what exactly is
It's
good, so
good.
that when you see what is not good, you definitely know that no, the good one I know does not look like
Okay,
this.
this exactly.
So now, if I now have like oh what in fact even when I see maybe just an input, first of all I always have it like take it to my mother. Okay, I've been doing a lot of things maybe on any application or any web application. It means that if it means when I'm putting in, like maybe when I put in my password, my username and all of that in email, I'm trying to always, whenever a question comes up or a task comes up, I try to always link it back to the real thing, normal thing I've always been doing. I know without knowing what is happening at the background. So at the moment, I've been able to figure out how I can do this myself. Then at that point is what in the time I would feel that okay, I know this thing. But if I'm not able to, get it, maybe you just ask a question. Okay, for instance, if you just said now, if you say, okay, I should I should work on a project that takes in inputs and maybe multiple inputs from different places, send an answer, print an answer in so format, and then I'm struggling to get to find materials that will guide me do that and all of that, then I do not know that thing. But if I'm able to do it with either no reference to those materials or a very little reference to that material, then I think at that point I know it.
That's
I think that's my
excellent.
take.
That's excellent. And thanks for sharing that with us. Hi, Deole.
Hello.
Hi, Barokin.
Yes.
I'm sorry that I was having problem with my.
Yeah, I could see.
So what I wanted to say was like, I feel like some people have problem with PLD,
Okay.
like programming logic and design.
Mm,
If you are given a task, how
mm,
do you solve it before you start coding?
mm,
That's where most people are having problem.
yeah.
Yeah, so most people they like to use IDE, but I believe text editors will be better because then you can know where your problem is before anybody tell you. If you practice like that, it make you a better programmer.
Mm,
Yes,
okay.
that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Adele.
Yeah. So Byron made a good point about and it's actually about the concepts that you need to learn in programming. It's called abstraction, right? And reverse engineering it. So every day you sign up or sign into a website, you are interfacing with code, even if you don't realize it. So trying to figure out how these things work, right? And how the processes you learn, right? How they work. Comparing strings, what are the applications of comparing strings, right? It often gives you context when you're working through something. And Byron talks about PLG, right? So that's what ALX refers to as the framework where you are whiteboarding, working on pseudocode and an algorithm, right? Before you actually jump into the code. That's important, right?
Yeah.
I won't say they are part of the mastery, but they are tools that you need to embrace to actually get mastery of programming.
Mm.
Byron also makes a point about being able to walk through code without actually running it, right? You can follow the program line by line or follow the branches without actually running it, right? Like you can say, okay, this is wrong. Why not switch this for this, right? Or change this, bring this here. It's important. When you can read code, especially not your code, right? Someone else's code.
Yeah.
And that's what something that you probably noticed this when you're working on our most recent Airbnb by SQL, right?
Yeah.
Because you're working with somebody else's code base,
Yeah.
and things are different from how you would have done it,
Exactly.
right? It would have given you some difficulty. So yeah, that's how you know you're getting better the language, when you can follow code line by line, especially not your code, and especially when there are no comments, right? The program, the code base is not well documented. I have to actually read it. There's no hints from a comment or anything. You have to actually read line by line, right? So, but another thing is, and this kind of goes with the reading line by line, when you can correct like obvious or improve refactor code by saying, okay, this is correct, like it's not wrong. But if you use recursion instead of loops, or doing this instead, breaking this into a function, or spinning this block off into a function that you can then call, then always repeating that whole block. That's what then try, right? That whole block of code every time, that will impact. So there's no simple rule to there's no single metric you can use, right? Then you have to understand that the difference between understanding code well enough and mastering it. The nature of knowledge is that you will never actually know everything about programming, right? In any language. And some of the things that you think you know are wrong. And programming is in a state where it's not mature yet. There are changes every week, right? There's a joke about the new JavaScript framework coming out every week. Guido van Rossum, the guy that created Python, was on Lex Friedman's podcast last week. He was talking about the changes in Python, right? The person that created Python still has bugs in Python, right? So it's impossible for you to actually master a language to a point where you don't get errors, right? Because fundamentally, programming is you talking to a computer that doesn't speak your language. So some things always get lost in translation, right? So that is normal. So, but you want to get to a point where you're comfortable to avoid all the obvious gotchas, right? And it takes time. It's just practice, and you will see the signs that they're improving, right? When you're able to walk through code without running it, where you can say, okay, let me your old programs. And I've tried to do sometimes. I have to go back to my old program I wrote months ago. I say, okay, this program, how will I improve this program? Let me spin this block of code into a function call, or let me change this instead of writing a whole block of code. When it's a simple branch, let me use a ternary operator here, right? You want to expand some things, you want to condense some things, there are some lines of code that there's some clever tricks you use, and you want to comment it out. I don't like commenting code out, but you want to document that code. Say, okay, this does this. Because there are times when you read your own code and you understand what you were doing there.
Exactly.
I know it works, but what's the logic here? So, and there's I don't know how they say this rule of thumb that your code is read more times than it is run, right? At least by other people, right? So yeah, these are the things that even if I didn't document this block of code, even when you should, right? Say okay, but just following as okay, this does this, and that's interesting, right? So that's how you know you are improving the language. You're never going to get to points where you get to write without bugs, or you don't have runtime errors or whatever. But you want to get to the point where those are rare, they become rarer and rarer as you go ahead, and you become comfortable with certain workflows. That's the whole point. There are things that you notice, you can follow code, you can say, okay, let me improve this, let me factor this, right? But you're never going to get to a point where you don't get bugs. If the people who create languages to get bugs, because those languages change, right? They're not static. So unless you want to pick a dead language, right? So there's a new version of Fortran in the works, right? So Fortran is like the first version programming language, and they're working on making a new version of Fortran. So these things change. We talk about one of the things they talked about on the podcast was Python 4.0, right? And what changes will make when they will bring in. So there was a big change in Python about 10 years ago when they moved from version 2 to version 3.
Yeah.
They changed a lot of things. People had to update their code bases. So even if you had mastered Python 2.7, when they change Python, a lot of your skills have become redundant. You have to fix those things. So you're always going to have to keep refreshing and improving yourself. But you want to get to a point where you're comfortable enough. Just part of it is pattern recognition, right? Programming is doing some particular things. We talked about it last week, right? I said, okay, this is doing this is doing this. Okay, yeah. You don't have to actually read line by line. You just say, okay, this bug does this, bug does this. Yeah, that's just it. Those are the signs that you know that, okay, for this language and this paradigm, right? That's another thing. There are different paradigms in programming, right? But you say for this paradigm and this language, yeah, my aptitude is advanced enough that I feel comfortable. I drop into any code base, see what's going on, right? I can follow the abstractions. The things that are abstracted in me, there are calls to it, endpoints or whatever. But you can follow that flow. That's why I feel you need to be, right? If you don't need to go beyond that and become like a chief wizard of the language, okay, yeah. But I think that's the sweet spot is when you're comfortable that you can muck around with any code base and you won't break anything. Yeah, that's why I feel like we should involve. Yeah.
Great. So what I like so much about the submission is the fact that you kept making reference to getting comfortable with it, and I also feel that is where the focus should be. So just as you said, there's no way you know everything, and a lot of people when they start learning a programming language, they are in a hurry to finish the programming language. I don't know. And the truth of the matter is that there's no way you will finish a programming language because new things keep coming up. There are things that you would forget, you would have to come back to it. There are challenges that you will face in the future that you are yet to face. I mean, using that same programming language, irrespective of how good you are in the programming language. But then getting to the level where I'm comfortable doing this. So with that regards, we can say that if you are learning any concept, all you should care about at that point when you're learning the concept is how comfortable are you using this particular concept in whatever work you are doing, whether projects or assignments, tasks that you are doing. So if it is conditional statements, let's say the if else block, how comfortable are you using with using that if statement? If you weren't given a task and you yourself, as Baron said initially, ask yourself like practically how would you use the if statement or if else statement to do something. So you start thinking and asking yourself the questions that, okay, can I do something with an if else statement? And you say, yeah, like I think I understand if else statement. Let's see what I can do with it. Okay, let's try out building, say, a traffic light. Mm. Like when I mean some basic things. What does a traffic light do? You just say, hey, if it is red, red means this, yellow means that, green means this. So at the end of the day, you are able to write a program that like imitates the function of a traffic light. So that probably, let's say your program asks the driver, what is the color of, let's say the driver doesn't even know what the traffic light is. So you ask, what is the color of the light you are seeing? If the driver says green, then you give them the prompt, hey, now you can go. If it says red, you say, hey, stop. If it says yellow, get ready. Like something like that. Then you know that, oh, okay. Like I'm very comfortable using the if else statement and I can do it here. Let's say this same conditional statement, you want to use a switch case statement. Will you be comfortable using it if any errors come up? Assuming you build a program with if else statement, then now you're trying to use the switch case statement to do the same program. if errors come up or you're not getting the exact result, will you be comfortable enough to figure it out, just as the previous suggestions were pointing out to? Will you be able to figure out? So at the end of the day, that is what we should be looking out to. That, hey, like, I know I'm not perfect. I know there are bugs. I mean, bugs will always come in your codes like once in a while, or like it's inevitable. I mean, that's the right word. It's inevitable. Bugs are inevitable. But then when they come in, as we are saying, how comfortable are you dealing with them? Okay, they can be very frustrating, but then if it is to know whether you understand the concept or not, now that concept, how comfortable are you using it? As soon as you feel that you're a bit comfortable with this concept, like I'm using the if else statement for example, if you think you know how to use it, start thinking about what projects can I use this for. And I've given an example: build a traffic light, build a grade calculator or something. Like, if the person got an A, tell them their is it remarks, so whether it was excellent, it was very good, or however you want to implement it. I mean, by just doing those ones, you solidify your knowledge there. Okay, so I like that submission. Know whether you're comfortable using it or not, and that will tell you whether you understand the concept. And as soon as you feel you are a bit comfortable using it, start thinking about how to practically use this. Okay, if I want to build a project, a program, like write a simple code to perform something, then will I be able to do it with this particular concepts that I've learned? Yeah. Then the last bit that we're going to talk about. So now, if I know that I'm comfortable with the concepts based on what we've already discussed, how do I get the idea of what to build? Like, now I've made suggestions of traffic lights. I've talked about grades. I've talked about BMI and things. But then, how does an individual who doesn't know what to build get any of these ideas? I mean, anyone care to share with us? Like, how do you come up with the ideas that you want to use to test the concepts that you've learned? So, say today you learned about object oriented programming, and you feel that you're a bit comfortable working with object oriented programming, maybe working with classes, working with inheritance and things, but you want to come up with an idea or a basic project that will really knock in that concept or test your knowledge of the concept for you to be sure whether you know it or not. How do you come up with those ideas? Anyone? Yes.
For coming out with ideas for projects, maybe what I'll suggest is that, like, if you join other online platforms that are also into development,
Mm,
mostly they are post, someone will post, I've done this and this. So
mm.
you say, hey, so let me also try if I can do it.
Okay.
Mostly Facebook or this thing, Twitter. Mostly people post a lot of things that they've done with a
Mm,
particular programming language. So if you also learn that particular language or that concept, and someone posts, I've used this concept to do this and this, so you also try. Let me also see if I can also do that or something better than that.
mm.
So I think that one would be a good way to get ideas for projects.
That's very important, and thanks for sharing. So I feel that it's one of the easiest ways to get ideas. What others are doing. Okay, there is no need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, once the wheel is working, why do you want to reinvent it? People are doing it, and it's helping them. So why not try it? okay, somebody says that he learned this, and based on that, he's been able to do this. You also go try it out and see how far it goes. If you are not able to implement it the way you want it, you can always reach out to the person or the community where that thing was published. Ask about it. Hey, I saw that you did this and that with this. I wanted to do something similar, but I'm struggling with ABC. Can you help me out? Or can you share with me your code that you use to solve this problem so that I will go through it and see? So Adewale mentioned earlier, learning to read and make meaning out of other people's code base is a very important skill set that we also need to have. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the time when you are employed, you are going to be employed into a company that already has like a product or a software that is already in existence, and hence you are going to be working with old code base. You have to be able to make meaning out of it and make the changes. I think that's why for our most recent projects that we worked on, ALS made us fork someone's repo, that is the code base that belongs to someone else, to work on it, just to get a feel of that. So it's good practice. If you've tried it and you couldn't, or even if you could, I mean, you've done yours, this is the way you did it, but then reach out to other people, see how they also did it. Or even when you come up with a project and you did it this way, share it with others and say, hey, I did this, can you try it out and let me see what you are able to do. Then you compare how the person tackled it, and you'll be amazed how much you learn from just seeing how someone else did it. Maybe the way you did it is not the optimal way, but at least you understand how to go about it, and you learn the optimal way from what someone else did. Or you have the optimal solution and you end up teaching the other person how to come up with the optimal solution. So thanks a lot for sharing that. Very important. Yes, any other person? Any other person? Okay, so since time is not on our side like that, let me share here with regards to getting project ideas. As has already been said, you basically can get it from various communities that you are in, various platforms where people are sharing some of these things. Then the other thing that I have also found is you can use Google, like any search engine at all. Hey, I just learned how to use the if else statement. What can I do with it? Ask Google. If you want to ask chat gpt to, you are allowed. I'm sure chat gpt will be able to give you something. At least now it has become the sensation of the day. But then you can use the search engines for those purposes. Personally, it is something I do often. I go run searches and say, hey, beginner projects in, say, Python OOP, or beginner projects for C programming, like things like that, and hear what people have thought about. And sometimes they even go to the extent of sharing how they would have implemented it. So if you have no idea, you just think about how they would have implemented it and go and try writing a code for it. Or they shared how they would have implemented it, but then you also look at a different way that you can implement the same solution and go ahead and implement it. Okay, so I believe that that is one of the ways that you can do that. Just use any search engine to help you with that. Also, I feel that using a search engine like YouTube, YouTube is a search engine. At least it's the second largest search engine that has been noted. And a lot of times, I the same search that I do on Google, like going to check beginner projects for Python OOP as I used as an example. I can go to YouTube and do the same search, get to see what people are talking about. Sometimes they even, do the coding aspect, but then the goal is not necessarily the code, but then getting the idea, because that's the point where we are right now. And mostly when you know that someone else has done it before, okay, you get the idea and you have references. So go and try and implement it on your own. And when you have challenges, you can always go back to those references, because this is something someone else has done. The code is available. So if you're having any form of challenges, just reach out or go back to the site or the YouTube channel where you got it from and see how they implemented this. And that will also help you a lot. So that is one of the ways that you come up with it. The other way too is, hey, you are in this community, talk to people, ask them, oh, I just learned this concept in programming. How can I practicalize this? Okay, let them bring out suggestions. Well, what can I do with this? You get people suggesting things for you so that you use that to build your project. Then sometimes too there are some common problems that you have. There are some common problems that you have that you can solve with your, the knowledge that you have. So you can also go ahead and build a solution to a problem that you have. Okay, like a basic, in the simplest way, try and build a solution to that problem. And yeah, so I think
So,
that's hi Barokin.
so normally, me, what I normally do,
Mm-hmm.
I use solo learn.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes. Most of the time when I practice something, then
Mm.
I go to solo learn. I pick one of the code,
Okay.
or they have something called code repo. Like when
Mm.
you do a concept, you cannot move until you solve that code repo. Sometimes
Oh,
you
okay.
just implementation, just like the implementation,
Mm.
then the problem is solved. So I like to use that one to practice some of the concept.
Mm. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I think when I was learning C, I was doing a lot of those as well. I was using programmers. I was using I've forgotten the names, but then when I open my phone right now, I have a lot of those apps where they give you like practice questions that you have to try out before you advance to the next stage. Yeah, so that is also very much recommended. You can get some of these apps, especially the ones that put the questions in the form of tax projects and things. I've not used this platform Mimo. I've not used Mimo before, but then I've been following Ima, one of our colleagues who was doing the 100 days of coding challenge and was tweeting it. I was following it and I could see that usually the titles from Mimo is like project based something, like trying to do this calculator, implementing this. So maybe you can also check that out. Mimo, Mimo. So there are quite a number of these platforms out there that you can use, and even a platform like Geeks for Geeks. You get a lot of challenges for the various concepts that you learn. Okay, so you can go to Geeks for Geeks. That's not the only platform. I think even Tutorial Points, Java T Points, like all of these platforms have sections where they are problem based sections. So you can always just jump there, look for a problem, and try solving it with, writing the implementation in code. Yeah, so that is very good ways that you can go about it. All right, so as we bring the session to an end, let's open the floor for final questions. If you have questions or any concern, yes, any questions? Yes.
Hello, sorry.
Mm.
I think I was not completely with you guys again. I
Mm.
was on transit. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't know, but I noticed it seems the discussion is going to be wrapped up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask, please. After this particular session, now I really I don't know how I can follow up and get abreast. I don't know even the Telegram channel. I don't know if I would call your Telegram channel now or the Telegram channel for the community.
Mm.
I don't think I'm part of it. So I don't know if
Okay.
there are other links or a community platform you could share with me, please. I would really appreciate so I can continually follow on. And then I would also want to know how often these discussions or meetings like this do hold so I can make myself always available.
Okay. All right. So I'll share the link to the Telegram group in one of the channels. I'll prompt you. I'll check if I can find you directly. But then if not, you can check the channel called Progress Reports. I'll share a link to the Telegram group there. And
What
for
do you call the channel?
progress reports. Progress report. Yeah. Aside that, now we are even trying our best to move most of the communications discussions to Discord. So once you are here, you are really not lost. I mean, with Telegram, it's more ALS specific things. So ALS specific stuff usually goes on Telegram, but outside that, we are trying to move everything here. Then there's noise at your background. Yeah. Yeah, so with regards to the meeting times, currently what we are doing is the Techpadies Talk, which we are currently having, is every Friday around the same time we met today. That is 7 p.m. GMT. Then on Saturdays we have live coding session. So tomorrow, God willing, we are going to have our live coding session. And I even forgot to mention that earlier when we were talking about our project. So with our live coding session last week, we started one project that we are building together so that everyone gets that experience of how to plan and develop a project like that. So tomorrow we are going to continue. I think what were we building? We are building a currency converter, right? I think that's what we're working on last week. So we are going to be continuing from tomorrow, God willing. And eventually we want to build it into something that can be usable. Yeah. So that's the arrangements that we have for now, the official arrangements that we are sticking to. Initially, we were supposed to be doing a session on, I think, Tuesdays, but now, because of how packed sessions are, I mean, the other things that we have to do and things. So for now, we are just officially doing the Fridays and Saturdays meetings. So Friday, 7 p.m. GMT. Then Saturdays, I think it's 6 p.m. GMT. So you have to convert it to the respective time zone that you belong to. Yeah, that is it. But aside that, everything, if you need any help or like the various Telegram channels, check out the respective channels. If it is a resource you are looking for, look at the resources channels. If it's a question or concern that you have, you can use the forums or yeah to get access to that. Any other question? Any other question? All right. So if there are no questions, maybe final words. Let's see. Tony and Adewale, do you care to share any final words for today? Tony, Adewale, any of you?
Yeah, Yes, so let me just add one or two things. So the idea of finding projects to ideas for practice is nice, right? You want to, it's kind of you want to apply your concepts you've learned, right? With two different things. Ideally, there should be an intermediate step, right? Before you learn the concepts, before you jump to coming up with project ideas, you want to work with problem sets, with different problem sets. And you mentioned this about using apps, but it's also personally for me, I like to use HackerRank. I have problem sets like big banks that are tiered, right? Say for working on your beginner in Python, there are beginner level questions. So it's both sorted by your difficulty, but also by topics, right? So for example, you started Python and you've learned some things about string manipulation, string concatenation, or say functions in Python. So you can go to HackerRank or Detula or CodeCata, they all of them, Lead Code, and work on those problem sets, right? That helps. So after you are comfortable with that concept and you have tried it, because they'll give you like a rough summary that actually like a problem and they ask you to implement a solution. They give you your constraints. They give you extra constraints. And you do that. So when you're comfortable with that, you can try to build a project, right? So the project idea is like now tying that the ideas you've been using to simulate or solve a real world problem, right? So before you jump to projects, try to work with different problem sets first. That will help you get a better grasp of these concepts. And when you start the project, you get a better equipped to do that, right? So there are also resources for actually getting projects. There are GitHub repos that are dedicated to this, right? For example, you're learning JavaScript or Python, whatever language. There are GitHub repos that are designed to help you do this. Okay, you're learning Rust or whatever. There are repos on GitHub that are basically just archives of beginner friendly, or probably again, it's probably said, right? There'll be beginner friendly projects. There's people with intermediate level understanding of the language, and then there'll be advanced ones, right? And they also tell you that you should look at contributing to open source. So even for open source is basically crowdsourcing, like the creation and management of applications, right? So things that they require is essentially, for lack of a better word, like drone work, like minimum something like that would translate to a minimum job in if it was a programming, right? There are simple things that they need people to check as well. That is not a good use of the time and resources of their more skilled programmers, right? So you're just learning this, and that is still experience and still dealing with problems, because those are usually issues, right? But people have mentioned that, okay, this is a bug in this, and they've created an issue for that. And you can ask, okay, this someone that maybe like they have like possible solutions. You can just try them out and see and report which one does this better. That's another way to improve. Because my point is that the aim of getting a great idea is for you to practice and get better. So don't get so focused on the project itself. There are other ways you can go about that. There are other things you can do. Yeah. So yeah, so that's how I went to add.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So use your tools well. You mentioned YouTube. I want to mention it's very important, and we all do this as programmers. Stack Overflow is very important. And Stack Overflow is part of a collection of 500 websites, right? So you want to look for the specific one that applies to your whatever you need, right? So there are language specific Stack Overflow sites, there are domain specific Stack Overflow sites, there are stack specific ones, right? So you find what you want. Yeah. Then also, if you use Reddit, Reddit is a good resource as well. It's an excellent resource. If you're into it, it's very, very good. You can find resources for that as well. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And thank you everyone for participating in today's session. I really appreciate your time with us. And just as we have always hoped, we keep hoping that having such community meetups will help us all grow in the path that we have chosen. Hopefully tomorrow we are meeting at 6 p.m. GMT. If you are in the West African time zone, that would be 7 p.m. And if you are in the East African time zone, then that would be 9 p.m. Okay, so hopefully we'll meet around that time to continue our live coding session. And I look forward to seeing all of you. Enjoy the rest of your nights and whatever you are going to do. Thank you, and I'll see you, God willing, tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.